Okay, we're up on YouTube. Be in the world right away.
Good morning. Good morning. Can everybody hear me? Just doing a quick sound check before we get started for the day. A little bit of a delay, so always got to wait for a second. Good morning. I'm seeing a yes from Brianna. I'm thinking that is, yep, they can hear me. Good morning, everybody. Good morning to Virtual Con Day 2. So happy to be here. So happy to be here for our very first session of today, day 2 here at Virtual Con Beta, behind the scenes, designing a region here with our art team presentation. Very excited. Hi guys. Hi James. I just got a little distracted by the chat. Good morning, Tiago. Very excited to be here. Like I was saying, beta behind the scenes with our art lead, Ryan. Ryan, how you doing this morning?
Doing really good. Very excited for today.
Very excited too. I'm just gonna hand it right off to you because time is money, according to Lady Dark. So why don't you just have at it? And before I just hand it off completely to you guys, I am monitoring the chat both in the theater and also in Twitch. So if you do have questions, please feel free to send them to me, and I will make sure they get them to Ryan. All right, Ryan, take it away.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Anna. Appreciate it. And hi, and a warm welcome to everybody. It's very exciting to be here and part of VirtualCon. Really happy to be here and share some kind of bit of behind the scenes as to, well, scene creation, I guess. Um, So I kind of, I guess, wanted to go over one of our main areas, the Otherverse Plaza, since this is one of my favorite areas that I've seen created. Really love the designs for it, and I'm sure there's at least a good chunk of people here pretty familiar with the layout and the design of it now. Um, and I kind of want to share as well some of the process that we go through for this, like a little bit of how this goes along from beginning to end. Um, so I wanted to give a sort of a brief rundown of what we would usually do for creating a scene. Often would start with an idea, kind of the inception of it, of or the creation of it, of thinking up of how it's going to be made, maybe what the layout and the design is going to look like for it. So what I'd like to do is to share a little bit of a concept piece here, and I hope everybody can see that all right. So this is sort of our overhead design for the plaza, and this was created uh, this was created here in the initial stages of the 3D model after we actually got the design together for this. And the images here, just some quick, rough designs of building concepts, working with like jewelry stores, NFT area, staging area. This here is sort of the an alley view of the convention center and business center. And this here again is sort of another alley view here of the Skyrise karaoke dance club, tattoo shop, and the gym. Um, so these were all created by one of our concept artists. These designs will often have a kind of a rough stage like this, and then we'll go further over for additional details and tweak and fix things along the way as we're designing. And some of these concepts have been updated as we were kind of creating the world and getting a better feel for it once the 3D designs were made for this. And we actually seen the whole scene coming to life. Um, so just a bit more of those like kind of tight knit alleyways, the market area. Um, this is one that this area is going to be incorporated but kind of repurposed for something a little bit different. So there actually will be some new additional pieces there for the plaza and a bit more like the staging area. Um, so this is kind of the first steps of our scene creation. And we like to be able to create these because it helps visualize what we're actually going to make and gives us a little bit better of an idea of what needs to change or what needs to be updated. And we will go over usually additional steps as well for things like colorization and texturization that will also allow our scene designers to be able to see what kinds of patterns and designs and kind of overall color schemes that we're going for in the design itself. And I would like to also share something else that we're going to go over uh, during this, some additional concept pieces for logo designs.
Let me just ask you something, a really quick question,
Yeah, for sure.
before you go on there, Ryan. Um, how do you even start sort of with even just beginning with that concept? Like, where sort of the question that came in was, where does one even begin in that process? Like, how does that even, so we're looking at the designs, but where does that even begin from the beginning of that?
Oh,
Does
for
that
sure.
make any sense?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I guess before we get into even, doing the drawings and stuff, I'll often have a discussion with the team and with the concept artist to see what are the needs for the area that's being designed. So for instance, this one for the plaza, we had quite a variety of needs for it because this is a very active area. So we have sort of a list of what kinds of functions are needed there, what kind of buildings are going to be needed there. So I'll basically list out what those needs are. So say stuff like a movie theater, karaoke, coffee shops, comedy clubs, stages, and all these different things will be listed out so I can kind of get this all organized into one section and then discuss this with the concept artist. Once we get into that area, um, I'll try to come up with some ideas and along with the team and everybody talking as to what is the general feeling that we're going to be deciding for this. Do we want this to be, like a very futuristic place? Do we want this to be something like cyberpunk dystopian? Do we want it to be very cartoony? And we'll figure out these different types of needs for the art style itself. And the the art style will kind of be developed as the so before we get into the actual drawing and the concepts, often what I'll do is I'll collect a lot of reference images of things that have that kind of feeling or that same kind of presentation that we're looking for each of those buildings. And then I'll package those up, send those to our concept artist, and then we'll work through of creating some uh, more rough designs than what I showed you, basically just line work. And that's when a lot of the development happens and changes is during those line work areas of the pipeline. And after we get the line work done, then we'll move into the gray, kind of gray boxing and shading kind of stage, which has been seen there. And then a few of the sort of very important areas or kind of like the specialty spots will usually be colorized to be a little bit nicer looking. Um, so yeah, it's I guess it's a few steps I suppose I skipped over there for that. Um,
Thanks for the clarification. That's awesome. Thank you.
Not a problem at all. Thank you for the question. Um, so yeah, and then that will bring us up to the actual concept stages. And one other important piece that we work on as well in concept area is for creating logos. So it's something else I'd like to share, just to show a few of the uh, concept pieces that were created for a few of the logos that you'll see in the plaza as well. Stuff like the Chance Oasis for the casino, not that one, Coffee Lovers for our cafe, Lift Gym, Johnny Live for like comedy, stand up, like open mic kind of feeling. Milky Way Theater, the Pixel Pantheon for the NFT gallery, Paragon Jewelry Shop, Aroma Angelique, one of the restaurants will be created in the plaza. The rooftop logo, which is going to be a dance club that will be introduced. Uh, Parados Playhouse for the more like stage theater style, not so much movie theater. Ink's Tattoo Parlor, Threads Clothing Store, and the Alder Transport Center, which is sort of the main area that you'll enter into the plaza from. And one of the reasons that we do go through this process of creating the logo concepts is not only to put them on the buildings themselves to help as a unique identifier for it, but also something for the transport center too. So we can kind of use this for a few different things. And to not skip a step on this one, so the logo designs here, a similar process what we would do for the concept art. Kind of come up with an idea or feeling that's going to be put into the actual design itself, and what the needs are of, say, the building or the area, if there's like a whole world that's going to be explored. And we kind of have to figure out a way to condense that entire area into a logo itself, so it's something that's representative of that area. So when people see, say, the Paragon jewelry store, they'll think of like, oh, it sounds like nice jewelry, nice high-end fashion kind of thing. And that's kind of the feeling we're trying to invoke with each of these designs, is something that is identifiable and also compatible with what's being represented. For these kinds of designs, often what happens is there might be two or three references for these, but often with logo designs, we try to stay away from things that are already created. So we end up going through a little bit of a different process compared to concept art, where we provide a lot of reference to get started. With the logo design, we provide a small amount of reference and kind of let the artist just do her thing and create multiple different quick sketches, sometimes between 5, sometimes up to 20, 25 of rough designs per logo. And then we'll kind of refine that down into about selection of 5 and then down to 3, and then find the one that works well for it. And then clean that up, colorize it, finalize it, and then send that off to our 3D artists for them to start creating the actual 3D prop for it. And then that can be used in world. Okay. So that's sort of the basis of some of the more important pieces that will be put into the scene design. We also do have prop artists that will help out with this, and texture artists. Prop artists have a similar kind of pipeline that the concept and scene artists would have. We provide a fair bit of reference. I usually gather up different images, color patterns, and various texture pieces that will be needed for that design. And then I'll hand those off to our 3D modelers, and then they'll work pretty quickly, usually, to be able to produce some of these 3D pieces. And then we'll put them into the engine, test it out, make sure the lighting's working okay, the textures, our materials, all that. And then once we get a base version of that, often what we'll do is we'll now take that 3D prop model and we'll give that to our texture artist team, and they're able to reproduce different styles, different color palettes, different textures, materials, and kind of breathe new life into the 3D piece, with their own kind of art styles and stuff. Sometimes they'll help guide them a little bit depending on which stuff is being worked on. But it's a good area for the artists to just kind of do their thing and have fun with the art and creativity process of being able to create multiple variations of this and different kinds of textures and appearances for the props. And that all of that helps the scene designer not have to work completely by themselves on these scenes, and that way they have a little bit of support from other parts of the team to be able to bring more life and fun into the project here. So without further delay, I'll share the actual plaza itself, and we can kind of go on through like a little tour, and I can discuss some of the details of the actual scene itself. All right. So, hopefully everybody can see that okay. I'm just inside of our engine here, and I wanted to try to maximize our space so we can get a nice visual. And I'm starting us off inside the transport center because this is often where players will begin this area to actually come in to experience this world and see what's kind of through here. Um, so this is sort of the first view of what you'll be able to see in the world. You get a quick glimpse around. Directly ahead, we have our marketplace. We have the NFT gallery just over here. And immediately we start to see some of these pieces, like the logos, turned into a 3D design. And this is sort of the finished product of one of the 3D pieces and keeping transport, the transport in sort of a theme of different types of trees or types of wood is kind of one of the directions that we're going with this. Um, Stuff like the plants, often these kinds of pieces will be initially created by our prop artists for 3D, and then they'll be brought into here. Sometimes they're tweaked by the texture team, sometimes they're tweaked by the scene modeler to be able to fit the area that it's needed for. Make sure that the lighting and materials are going to work well with the scene. So if we take a quick glance around on just this open area, like I was mentioned before, we have sort of our marketplace area. We have this nice pathway that kind of lets us lead into where the main section is for the plaza. We can see to the right here the Pixel Pantheon. This is the NFT gallery that we have. The coffee shop, as you can see, logos are something that kind of sticks out for the building a little bit to help quickly identify, like, oh, okay, coffee cup, there's our coffee. So the pixelized piece here representing of a lot of the more popular early NFT pieces that were created, a lot of like pixel art, things like that, but holds a lot more inside. We'll take a look over to the left here, and we can see a little bit of the Parados Playhouse. That's the kind of stage theater area. So it's more for like plays, live acting, live demonstrations on stage. Far off in the distance, we can see the Johnny's Live. This is the comedy club area, open mic, and Aroma Angelique for the restaurant. So I'd like to go over, just show some of the details here for some of these pieces that were created.
So I was just asked Ryan if this
Yep.
is actually a live view from World right now, or what is this?
So this is actually a view, not in world, but this is the actual project itself. So it just makes it a little bit easier for me to move around, show things off, and get a better detailed look of things. So this is basically what it looks like in our project view. So this is sort of the behind the scenes of how things are built and put together. Like can move pieces around if I like. Um, so this is actually the project itself. So it might be a little bit different than what people would be seeing in world once the final build is created and everything. But should be relatively the same, I think, overall for this. And as you can see, this at this stage is where we can start applying our materials, lighting effects like these pieces. And if I'm not sure how familiar people might be with game design stuff, but this kind of effect is known as emissions or emissive material. Basically, just helps generate a nice glow effect. And pieces like this to have that nice metallic sheen of like a brushed metal. So we have a lot of details that were put into a lot of these areas. As you can see, even with the marketplace, we have just lots and lots of small stuff hanging around. We got like oranges, coffee machines, all the plant life, and even the lighting itself is brought into great detail here. Just these little pieces here to be able to add that little bit of extra life into the foliage as you're walking around and exploring. The main road here kind of helps guide a little bit as to some of the some of the main areas in the plaza. So you can get, if you walk up through the all the transport up here, you get to see this kind of centralized piece, and this lets us see a coffee shop, cafe, or jewelry shop over here, the convention center in the back, the movie theater straight over here, um, the real estate kind of area, um, and clothing shop, dance club, and casino way in the back here. So, and of course, the stage area. This is going to be a very lively place, I think. Uh, this is going to be used for quite a few different features and venues, and will work for various kinds of things, for like concerts or parties or special events and things. And we have all these screens that are all around here as well. And these will be used to be able to show footage and video through the screens as well, help make it feel a bit more like a live scene. Um, so that's one of the reasons why this kind of main pathway is here, and helps to be able to help direct the flow of the players moving through. So being able to walk down these your main road areas will take you through all of the main spots of the plaza. Um, so yeah, that would be one of the more important areas, I think, is the stage. But we do have lots of other areas like the dance club that will open up, our clothing shop to be able to buy different types of clothing or unique pieces, um, and the movie theater down here as well, for being able to actually view uh, films, movies, um, possibly live events, um, and the convention center. So some of you may notice as well that some of these designs differ a little bit from the initial concepts. And as mentioned, as we're developing some of these areas, especially these larger areas, we'll do some tweaks and some adjustments to the concepts and to the buildings themselves as we're creating. Um, and we ended up having something a bit more of this flowing kind of design to keep things very like sleek, has that kind of modern, little bit futuristic feeling to it, and a nice touch of elegance, I think, with how these are kind of displayed and designed. Um, so a lot of it uses similar kind of materials, like a lot of this kind of concrete and wood sort of a mixture. Um, and this helps bring that cohesiveness of the scenes together. Foliage is, I think, a very important part that tends to get overlooked, I think, in a lot of game designs, often, especially in areas like cities or things that people will think that it's just more about the buildings or the roadways and things. Um, so this is one of the reasons why there's a lot more focus on foliage, is to be able to bring a bit more of that natural life and a bit more of the organic feeling to these kinds of scenes. And it helps break it up from just being all just kind of, concrete, a little bit more like flat feeling and stuff. So it gives these like nice greenery areas that you're able to get into every once in a while and see a bit more of these designs. Um, and we have all kinds of little spots hidden around in the plaza to be able to walk around and explore. And I think that brings a bit more fun into the area, just not only for the socializing part or the interaction with the buildings, but also about where you can find, you can come down these little areas or find these like sort of like little hidden back spots, to be able to actually see some of these kind of more quiet spots where you might be able to hang out with some friends, socialize, and have a bit of fun. Um,
I have a few questions coming in, Ryan. So I'm just
for
going to
sure.
start kind of asking you.
Yeah.
One of the questions is what, well, I'm just going to sort of rephrase it, but
Mhm.
what was the choice behind, here, let me just scroll up here. Actually, let me ask this other question here before I scroll up to the other one is, what about animations? Why are plants and a lot of things not animated?
Okay. So for the animation for plants, this is something that I think we're going to be incorporating for more foliage and plant life. Some of our scenes do have a bit of a bit of animation with it, but it's not so much animation itself. It's more so utilizing a shader, which I'm not sure how familiar the audience might be with shaders, but it's sort of a technical art piece of game design that allows you to take code and kind of mix it in with textures or art or different pieces. And you can create a little bit of movement on the foliage itself to make it look like it's sort of blowing in the breeze. Um, and there are other things that I think are going to be explored to see, but being able to have sort of a faked physical plant interaction, so moving up against them, be able to brush them out of the way and things. But this one is still in the exploration stages. But yeah, the foliage for this scene in particular does not have the animation shader applied to it yet. But this is something I think we might be able to work in here. Um, and it kind of comes down to uh, balancing things for the game to be able to make sure that they're visually pleasing, but still being able to run efficiently as well. So we want to be able to keep the experience moving, basically. Like we don't want our players kind of get like stuck or anything. So just always need to make sure that things are working very well before we want to implement them for things. But
Got it.
very good
Got it.
question.
Another question. What was sort of the design choice behind the dark, the night,
Ah,
the more muted sort of color palette choices here, especially for this plaza region?
definitely. So one of the reasons that we went for the night kind of feeling here, it's sort of multifaceted, I suppose. We have one of the reasons is because of the feeling of that vibrance of the bright light. As you can see here on a lot of these pieces, we have these nice emissive effects, and as well as the lighting for like street lights, foliage, the screens. Um, so being able to do this at nighttime actually helps a lot of these features pop more and brings a bit more of that life into the scene. Whereas if we had a daytime scene, stuff like these subtleties for the lights, the emissive materials in here, screens, would all feel a little bit more muted. So being able to have it as a night scene will help those things pop a little bit more. And as well that the plaza is a very social area, and often in a lot of cities around the world, the nightlife is often the more social time for a lot of people. So finishing up at work, you want to get back home, relax, and hang out with some friends, talk, socialize, maybe meet some new friends. And I feel a lot of that corresponds to more of a nightlife feeling, more so than daytime. Um, Definitely not true for everybody, but a large portion of people, I think, often will do a lot more of their socializing at nighttime, like sort of after hours kind of feeling. Um, so I think that's some of the main reasons why we ended up going with the choice to be able to have this kind of like night, bit of a darker scene feeling to it. And as well, the stuff like, let's see if I can go over here. Stuff like the water, I feel looks very nice at nighttime because you're able to see the reflection of the lights of the city and everything on the water itself, and with the moonlight, it just kind of gives it a bit more of a life-filled feeling. Um, yeah, I hope that answered the question for you.
So, I just so everyone knows, so I'm watching both on my computer screen and sort of in world, and I will say that what I'm seeing on my direct Zoom versus what is on stage, there is a significant difference in terms of uh, the sort of stream transmission is a lot duller than what I'm seeing in terms of the regular Zoom. It's a lot more saturated and brighter in color. It's a lot more impressive on the direct Zoom. It's a little more muted on the actual stage, just so everyone's knowing, because they're actually wondering like, why is it not more? It's a little
A little washed out feeling,
A
like,
little bit, yeah. I think it's because
okay.
of the stage of that it's being shown on right now. So just so everyone know, what Ryan is showing is actually really, really beautiful looking. I'm seeing like the raw feed of it, so it looks really good. But I've got another question that came in, and I don't know if you're able to answer this, Ryan. This might be more of a Brian question, but let's give it a whirl here.
For sure.
The question is, will there be a daytime version or a day to nighttime cycle of the plaza or any of the regions for that matter? Do you know if that's even possible? Or sky changes, weather, season, time of day, any of that kind of thing?
Okay, yeah, very good questions. This is something that's being discussed, but I don't know if I can comment on if it's a yes or a no. Um, there's a lot of technical pieces that are kind of involved with being able to have day-night cycles. There's also things like timing, which was a concern that was brought up about, say, somebody logs in every day at 6 o'clock, and every time they log in, it's always nighttime, but they want to experience the daytime version. So some people, just because of self schedules, might not be able to actually see those alternating times of it. And things like, if we speed up the time to be able to allow people to see day night more often, maybe it'd be too frequent. So there's a lot of technical aspects to being able to have day night cycles. But this is something that is in open discussion currently to be able to have. We do have some scenes that are in daytime. We do have some scenes that are in nighttime. But as for across the board to be able to have all of them as day and night, that is not something set in stone, but sort of more being discussed currently to see if this is something that we can implement with a good effect and not feel too jarring for the players and for the game itself. Um, so yeah, it's a bit of a tough question at this time,
And it
but
also spans across multiple departments as well. So it's not
yeah,
such an easy one for one department to answer. I know that for
exactly. Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, from my side, I'd be like, yeah, cool, let's throw in some,
Exactly
different
right.
skies and stuff, but programming and everything else, it's whole other ball game. So
All right, right. Yes, yes. So if it were up to us, yes, we would
yeah.
do that. But don't take our word for it, guys. That wasn't set in stone. Y'all can ask Brian at noon.
Yeah.
We'll leave it up to him. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, thank you very much. Really good question. Um, yeah, and I mean, it's a very interesting piece to think about too, because a lot of games do feature those kinds of things for day night cycles, but it's all depending on the type of platforms and everything. So, but yeah, it'd be very exciting to see more of this. I know there are some changes coming through for different areas, and of course for a lot of these buildings, like as we currently have a few of them that are, currently closed and being developed and finished up to be finalized and implemented. And some of these come with new features as well. So um, things like the clothing and tattoos and all these kinds of pieces. Um, but we do have a good chunk of this stuff already being developed, being worked on. Um, Stuff like tattoos, I think, are going to be a lot of fun to be able to implement for characters and people to be able to help give that little extra bit of personality to them. Same with like the clothing designs, being able to come in to buy different fashion and things for your characters and for your avatars. Um, and I know that the convention center, movie theater, probably going to be utilized quite a bit as well, as this is all being created and finalized. Quite a lot of moving parts on it right now, but very exciting, I think. Um, so
Got
yeah, that's
another question for you, Ryan. Sorry, I keep
yep. No,
interrupting,
no,
but
no, for
I
sure.
just don't want to miss any of these.
No, for
Uh,
sure. Yeah.
the other question that came in is: are there going to be empty buildings or spaces for rent here on in the plaza area for businesses and clubs?
Oh, sorry. I didn't catch that last part. One little quiet.
Are are there going to be empty buildings for rent here on the street plaza area for businesses or clubs?
Ah, okay. So in the main plaza area, I know that we are going to be implementing things for the Zabi building, which is over here. But this one's more geared toward housing for like apartments, penthouses, and things like that. The buildings themselves, I think we are implementing sort of a business type building here. So this is sort of an area for multiple types of businesses inside. As for the main area for rental, I don't 100% know myself. Um, that might be a bit more of a probably a bit more of maybe a Brian question or a programming question.
I can
The
speak to it a little bit. Yes, this
Okay,
there will be there will be some doors available. I know that there will be limited, but there will be some. There is talks of it. Exactly where they're going to be has yet to be determined. But yes, there will be
okay,
some.
perfect.
I know.
Thanks,
I
Anna.
was like, I could have just answered it myself, but like, but yes.
Appreciate that, Anna. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
But yeah, I mean that is the for the majority of it, this plaza area. Um, a lot of this is developed by multiple facets of the art team. A lot is on the scene designer, but a lot of these smaller prop pieces will often be designed by our 3D team, logos by our graphic artist, and then created in 3D by our 3D department for our artists. Um, and then finalized usually in here by the scene designer. Um, but yeah, that's most of this section. I could go over one of the other areas as well, if anybody wanted to see a bit more of some of the scene design stuff. Um, that's the majority of the pipeline for this. Once we get into this area and stage of things, a lot of this comes down to lighting, which is partially due to the lighting of the scene itself, these little pieces and lights. But there is also overall lighting that happens, usually from like a skylight, they're called. Um, so something like sort of to emulate that feeling of the moon coming down and bring a general ambience of lighting across the scene. Um, and then we have things like the uh, reflection probes, light light baking, and quite a few other varieties of just kind of tricks and things that we do to be able to help keep things running efficiently but still look nice. Um, I'll see if I can find
Quick
some
question while you're
others.
looking for that, Ryan.
Yep.
How hard is it to place a finished item in World, such as a building or large structure? And what is involved in finalization once it's in?
Oh, that's a really good question. So on the art side of things, being able to implement, say, a new prop or a new building, the process of bringing something in isn't so much of the challenge. Where the challenge lies is being able to place the prop properly. And once it's actually in there, then you need to check out the local lighting, what's around it. You have to uh, then do something called the light map baking. Because once you add a new item in, basically the shadows and pieces that are in here right now, these are sort of in place with the lights that's in the scene to be able to help things run more efficiently. So if we added something else in here, we wouldn't have the proper lighting and shading for it. So we'd have to do a rebake of anything that's solidly in this scene that's not moving around or animated or anything. And if that doesn't look quite right, then we might have to add in something called reflection probes. And these basically help the light bounce around properly so you get those proper reflections, proper shading, lighting in the scene to be able to match with the rest of things. From there, after it gets out of the artist side of things, then is when it goes over to the programming side, and they might have to do a new build for the scene for it to now register that new prop or new building. And once the new build is in there, then they'll have to run tests to be able to make sure that things like the colliders that were created by the artists, which if people aren't familiar, a collider is sort of it's like uh, a low detail version of a prop. So say something like this, it'd just be like a cube. There wouldn't be all these like little facets and stuff inside here. and that would be used to actually have collisions and stuff with the avatars to make sure that they don't just go right through the 3D object or go through the ground or through the building or what it might be. Um, and then they'll have to do testing on the programming side to make sure that those props are colliding properly or functioning properly. Um, and in the case of buildings, sometimes we will have uh, things like animations on the doors themselves to actually open and close. And this again would have to be something that's created by the artist to be able to have the animation in there, but then again tested by the programmer to actually make sure that those animations are working properly, colliders are following the doors so people aren't getting stuck or walking through them. And uh, then we'll have to go through the final build again after it's all finished up, and then upload that into the full project and have that linked to everything that's needed in the background that actually helps this function and be able to move level to level without any kind of issues or hiccups with that. So there's a bit to go into just adding a new prop into a scene.
Ryan, I have a lot of questions coming in. I hope you don't mind if I just.
Oh yeah, no, I love it.
Okay, awesome, great. The next question I have is: will it be possible to upload a property layout, say like a club design by members?
Ah, so just to clarify, I guess, would you be looking to upload just the 2D floor plan drawing of it, or a full 3D finished model of, say, a club or a business or things?
I'm going to assume that it's a full 3D model.
Oh, okay. I believe that yes, at some point that is kind of the plan forward with it. Because I believe that was similar to the legacy version, is you can sort of have your own version uploaded. The only detail I wouldn't quite know yet is if it's a fully completed one of a 3D model to be able to upload, because we might run into things like uh, collider issues or size of the file or the detail of it, the poly counts, texture sizes, quite a few various things that might come into play for it. Or if would be looking to be able to have the version that's in the legacy one of creating it from scratch and being able to put down your walls, your windows, your doors, which I know is going to be implemented. Um, but I just am not 100% sure on my end if being able to upload a fully finished building uh, is going to be a possibility. I think
Right now,
right now, yeah, because I know there's a lot of moving parts. I mean, if we are able to provide some sort of like little document on guidelines, something like that might be helpful, I think, to help keep things uh, working properly and efficiently for the games so it doesn't cause issues when you upload things, or if there's any missing parts or things like that. But yeah, at this time, I'm not 100% sure, but I mean, I would love to be able to have something like that.
right, exactly. And I mean, I think that's the hope for all of this is definitely to have a system of where we could have, you know, members definitely contributing, but one thing
Definitely.
at a time, right?
Exactly, yeah. And it's and
We're still a ways away, quite a ways away from
exactly, yeah. And I mean, it's either way, I think like users will be uploading stuff. It's just depending on the final version of how, I guess.
Mhm. And as there's a conversation that's sort of continuing here in the chat, talking about they were talking a full 3D model done in Unity. Sort of a follow-up question was, do you mean we have to build a property outside of the new world then upload? Brianna just said, talking about interiors, not exterior buildings into public areas.
Okay.
Oh, I was saying it's possible to do it if you want to in Unity. Okay, so yeah, they were talking about interiors, but yeah, there's it will likely be a prop editor of some kind, like an RLC. You can use primitives to build things that way. Okay, so there's just like a sort of a conversation that's happening.
Okay. Yeah, and I know that's one of the things that is going to be implemented eventually, is that same with like the legacy version, the RLC is we'll have those basic pieces like the module pieces of different sizes of walls or doors, windows, props, and items to be able to build it however you might like and to be able to finesse it in the game itself. So I know that will eventually come down the pipeline, but
Yeah, and I actually see sort of a follow-up question that I should have actually told you about. Is it's more of will there be a pipeline like UMV from inside Unity for users to upload a prop or a proprietary layout developed in Unity by the user on their PC? So yeah, that makes more sense there.
okay. Yeah, no, that's a really good follow-up question. And again, I do believe that that is going to be one of the intentions is being able to create your own 3D props and things to upload into the system and then be able to use that in the game itself, in the project itself, to be able to, uh, create maybe the interior of a layout for the house or uh, possibly a new piece of like jewelry or clothing, that kind of thing. Um, but a lot of these things are still being worked on. So they're a little ways down the road at the moment.
Mhm. So yeah, so the sort of a follow-up question is, do you have any idea of the timeline that the prop editor might become available for testing? I think that's more of an RQ question.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. That is way out of my
that's
hands.
that's an RQ or Brian question.
Definitely.
For that one, Brianna, sorry, we don't have an answer for that for you for that for today. But yeah, I think I've covered everything in the chat. It's just been mostly sort of a conversation about what we just talked about. But
Okay, awesome.
yeah, cool.
Yeah, and I mean, I love the questions too. Like, I wouldn't actually mind opening up for other questions as well. For the last bit of time here we have, if anybody has, you know, any other questions about anything in the art pipeline or anything I could try to answer myself, but um, yeah, I know
Sure.
there's lots going on with the project. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, there is also a touch bit of a delay here. So I'm just seeing if there's anything else that I missed while I'm looking back here. And if anyone has any other questions, while I'm checking here, I know we have a slight bit of a delay in terms of when you're hearing our voice and when I'm looking. Um, but if you have anything else in terms in relation to art, props, lighting, any of that aspect for Ryan, I've got a lot of comments here. Some of us are very eager to get started.
Oh, awesome!
Oh,
Really
oh,
glad.
here's a question. Great question from Sweet Guy. Favorite thing that you've worked on, Ryan, so far?
Oh, that is a hard choice. I've been enjoying every aspect of this project.
Great.
Um, let's see. I mean, for scene wise, I think this is one of my favorite ones. Just because it's like a small city basically that
The plaza you're referring
yes, sorry, yes, the plaza. For like scene designs, I think that's one of the reasons I wanted to show this one as well. There was a lot of work put into this from multiple teams, and I think the end product turned out beautiful. Um, in general, I mean, honestly, just getting to work with all these different people all over the world and different views and aspects of things, not only with art but just personalities in general, has been phenomenal. I mean, I like being able to teach my team different stuff, but they also teach me things, which is really fun. And it just feels like, yeah, it's the whole journey in this company has been amazing. Not just the art, but the people, and yeah, it just kind of feels like a, I don't know, as corny as it is, I guess it feels kind of like a family kind of thing. Like
too.
everybody's very open and like to discuss things and get to have some nice nerdy chats once in a while, which is fun. So.
Yeah, you can attest to that for sure. For sure. Our next question. Will you be able to upload artwork or images, and how will they be hosted? Can they be mapped on props or panes for pictures and things?
So I believe yes. I think that is the intention a little bit down the road is being able to upload art and paintings and things like that, and textures to be able to customize your pieces. Um, as for the hosting, uh, I I want to say I think there is something worked out for hosting. Because I know in the past that there was a little hiccup there with the way things are hosted initially, but I think there's a plan to get that kind of corrected as sort of a more like a self-hosting through us. And correct me if I'm wrong, Anna. Um, but I think it's that there's a plan to be able to have the image hosting and stuff done through us, so we don't run into any kind of issues down the road.
I'm not entirely sure. That's not my department, to be brutally honest with
Okay.
you. To be brutally honest with you. Yeah, once again, that might be a question for noon. Sorry, Brian. I hate to do that to you. I really hate to do that to you. But yeah, that's something that's out of my pay grade. So I don't know the answer to that one. But definitely everything, sort of the long and the short answer is everything that you have come to know that has worked previously for you in classic will work or work better. Let's basically say that much.
Definitely.
It'll work or work better and work better is the sort of long or short of it. Yeah. Other questions. Did you work with RGB or CMYK palettes? I have no idea what that means. So
RGB's red, green, blue, CMKY's cyan, yellow, magenta, and forget the last one right now. But it's they're basically different color palettes. CMKY is usually used for online like web development stuff. It's a way for things that are it's a way for things to be seen on screen the same way that they'll print out usually. If you have something that's RGB, you have more color to work with. But if, say, you took a screenshot and try to print it, you're not going to get the same colors that you're seeing on the screen because there's more colors that exist than can be created through physical ink. And we worked, I believe, through RGB for pretty much everything, since most of this is focused in a virtual world. So we wanted to be able to get a bit more of those colors, subtleties, and things that you'd only see in a digital world, more so than just in the CMKY for more so like web and print style. But yeah, just gives us a little bit more to work with, even if sometimes you might not notice, but those subtle gradients and things do come into play when you're especially working with like lighting and textures and things like that.
Another question from Sweet Guy. Can you make me a Dr. Pepper machine? I had to ask that question. That was good fun. That one was good fun.
That is a pretty fun one.
Maybe.
Might be able to make a Dr. Pep, but I don't know.
Yeah, Peppa, right? With
yeah.
A. I don't even know if we could do that actually, to be honest with you. Brianna, we have other bucket in our LC on our social page, so something like that then. You know what? Like I said, everything will work as you currently know it or better. So, that's all I can pretty much say, but certain questions like that would be related to you'd have to ask Brian or Q for those. Lady Dark, can we finally see how the avatars and clothing system will look like? I'm not sure if you were able to do anything like that.
Sorry, I only heard the first
sorry
about the avatar.
Can we finally see how the avatars and clothing system will look like?
Okay. For that, the avatar and clothing system, I think, is probably leans a little bit more into RQ's realm. Like my side will create the clothing, will create the avatars and the art side, but actually putting it together for you be able to say switch your character's clothing, be able to get changed, buying clothing, going into like the closet area to be able to update what your avatar looks like. That side of things is a bit out of my hands. It falls a bit more into the programming side to actually get that all lined up and working properly. Sorry about that.
No, all good. Don't apologize. Don't apologize. That's why we're here. We're learning new things. All right. Let's just take some final questions. We've only got a couple minutes left because I know we have some other great presentations. And Ryan, thank you so much for sharing everything.
Of course.
Kendrick already answered that one in the chat. It was a Brian question. Any last things you actually want to share with us in the couple minutes that we have left, in the short time we have remaining? Because I definitely know that we have some other presentations coming up we've got to get to.
I mean, I would love to try to load in another scene, but I do not
Go
know
for
how
it.
long it'll take, but I'll give it a
Give
go.
it a give it a go. Give it a go. Give it a go. Give it a try here.
Sounds good. Let's see if I can find this is a pretty fun one. This one I don't know if it was fully implemented yet, but it is a very beautiful scene. Think it'd be all right if I gave like a quick glimpse of this one? Yeah.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
All right.
I have no idea what you're going to show us, so go for it.
I figure I want to show a little bit of
We got 2 minutes, so let's
all right.
give it
It'll be a
whirl.
little sneak peek for people, I guess.
Yeah. I guess a good way to end this. Let's see.
Just hope it loads up in time.
That's all good.
I really enjoy this next scene too. It's a really fun one that was designed by one of our other scene designers, and it's a bit of a different feeling comparatively to
Look at this.
so this one is a bit more of like that fantastical kind of fantasy feeling to it. And as you might notice, there is actually that animated tree foliage feeling in this area because this one's all meant to be nature based, very outdoorsy. I don't want to give away too much of this area yet because it's a bit more of a sneak peek of something that people kind of look forward to and explore and see some of it. But this one is a bit more of like a outdoors fantasy based area. There's a lot of fun getting to see this one come together as well. A lot of life in it, and I think this would be a really fun spot for people to explore and play, and get to make new friends in.
So just so people know, I'm just going to describe this really quickly on my screen, just because I'm seeing it on my screen and not sort of on the stream. It's beautiful, guys. It's really beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, I wish I could have a less muted stream version of what's being shown, but lots of nice bright colors and a lot of like kind of glowing kind of plants happening. It's a very like fantasy kind of feeling vibe to this place. Should be a lot of fun.
All right, Ryan, I'm getting the cue. We're getting the axe. It's time to go. Thank you so much for this presentation. It's been wonderful. Thank you, everybody, for your questions. And thank you for showing us that sneak peek of that beautiful.
Of course.
Can't wait to run around that region.
Awesome. And thank you all very much for coming and getting to learn a little bit more of the art side of things. And I loved all the questions. It was great to be able to, discuss some of this stuff and answer some things. So hopefully everybody 100%. Enjoys the rest of it.
Oh, yeah. There's so much more to come. See you at 11 o'clock at the Avatar Theater for MetaMask. Setting up your crypto wallet.
Awesome. All right. Everybody have a great day. Thanks.